Tedrow, Thomas, Tuttle, Valdez, Works, Zwick, Harp, Haynes, Bothwell, Carpenter, Cruz, Dahl, Grover, Hornung, Horton, Hoskinson, Houghton, Jabin, Keekly, Karanja, Kellerman, King, McAdam, Malmberg, McCandless, Meinhardt, Peckert, Putnam, Roth, Rodriguez, Salverino, Shao, Chumlin, Wheeler, Whitmer, Witzke, Zyke. Cool.
All right. With that, we'll move into our first open period. And Bill Spiegel, the KXU recycling manager, is here to talk to us about Recyclemania.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of this great organization here. What I need is we as K-State. We have a competition coming on again like we do every year called Recyclemania. It's from now till March 31st. So even though we're talking now and we take spring break, when we come back, let's not forget, let's push the very end up to the end of March. So I don't know if everybody knows, we do have a recycle center on campus. It's behind Weber Hall, and we have multiple bins open 24 hours a day for the students and the faculty on this organization. Those bins get emptied about 2 or 3 times a week. We have glass bins, cardboard bins, everything for the students to make it convenient for you. You don't have to sort anything. What goes in those bins is all your plastics, your paper products, tin cans, aluminum cans, from all your social events. Just put it in there. Oh yes, and we do get. We go through roughly 4,000 pounds of glass a week, so there's a lot of social events. Trust me, I know about it. I tell you, when we empty those. Alive in Recyclemania. Now, years ago, we were number 226. That is good, but out of 400 schools, that's right in the middle. To me, that's just stagnant. It was just like, ugh. So once we started going with this, commingles up, look how much we went up to number 86. All because of students. It ain't because of me, because when I briefed General Myers a couple weeks ago, he goes, Bill, how'd you make this happen? I don't make this happen. We make this happen. It's all a team. And that's the reason why I want to keep it going, constantly. And the only way to do this, and you'll hear me, I got banners all over the university. You'll see it on TVs around the university. Next week, I'll be on 7 radio stations. Thank God for SGAs, for free public broadcasting. And you know what? People get tired of hearing me, but for 8 weeks, I want to make sure K-State is number 1 in the Big 12 again. The last 4 out of the last 5 years, we're number 1. University of Texas beat me out 2 years ago by 0.2%. It really irritated me. It really irritated me. The reason why they did that, I can't say nothing, but I posted my stuff 2 days before it ended. They looked at my results. So just a little bit, but last year I waited 2 minutes before the deadline. It was done at 3 o'clock. I submitted it at 2:58. I said, I know nobody's doing me again. I make sure I know how to work it. But as you can see, we work all these products right here. All your paper products, plastics, aluminum cans, tin cans, everything. You take it all. And if you don't want to bring it to the recycle center, there's blue bins all around campus. And other students will see you do it. If you have a can or something, a bottle, put it in a blue bin because everybody sees what other people do. They follow everybody. That's what I want, to promote recycling and keep it out of the landfill. Now, we have blue bins. We have blue bins throughout the university, even in all the buildings. There's conference ones. I can't even tell you how many there are. And if you don't want to bring the center, behind every building there's blue toters. You can just drop it off in there. K-State, like I said, we won the last 4 out of the 5 last years. Biggest competition. KU has not even been in it the last 4 years. We're not even out of it. But that's what I want. I want this teamwork and communication. So if you can promote this through all your co-workers, co-friends, everything, just keep pushing it, especially for the next 8 weeks. Now, let's work together and get the word out and make K-State a winner in the Big 12 again. That's what I want, communication. Because like I said, I can talk, I can put banners everywhere around this university. But you know what? People, some just don't listen, they don't read. Let's just communicate and say, let's make this, the next 8 weeks, the best drive we ever had, okay? Now, if you have any questions, I can leave that slide for a little bit. There's my email, there's my cell phone, I'm never in the office. That's where people call me, text me all the time because I have an office, but I'm never in it. And just to show, I'm not sure, I didn't throw this up on the slide, but if everybody wants to know what we do to make K-State different, last week, Housing contacted me and said, but we want to get rid of some mattresses. And I said, oh my God, okay. How many? 140 of them. I said, let me see what you can do. You got about 2 hours to work your magic. I said, oh, great teamwork. Man, this is great. Well, I got on the web and I made some connections. And last Thursday, a company out of Kansas City came and picked 131 mattresses up. They cleaned them and sent them to the needy children in the Kansas City area at no charge. It was good PR for K-State. It was good PR for K-State, and tell you one thing, we're going to keep working. And tell you one thing, you know, we just keep things doing more and more around here, and we do it better for the university. And but I just want to say thank you. And if you have any questions, there's my number. Email me, and I hope I'll be back here in 8 weeks. Say we won it. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Any questions for our guest? If not, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
With that, we'll move into approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Papoon.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the minutes. If there are no objections, the minutes will be approved as read. And with that, we'll move into announcements. Announcements are included in the agenda this week. First off, just a quick reminder that SGA has a booth at the browsing fairs for new and potential students to K-State. So please consider signing up for one of the morning shifts that they have in that sheet. Also, if you're interested in serving on the Women of K-State Committee, please let me know. We're looking for a new SGA representative. Meeting times for the semester are included there in the agenda. And just go ahead and send me an email if you're interested, and we'd love to get you connected with that. Also, proxies this week: Hyan for Ogren, Kelly for Martin, DeMoranville for Arnoldi, Thomas for McIntyre, and interns excused are Karamali, Pelton, and Gammon. And SGA members of the week this week go to Ryan Kelly and Rajat Kodira on their great work outreaching students through the Accelerated Fellowship Program. Let's give them a round of applause. And with that, an upcoming events calendar is included in the agenda. One big thing I want to draw your attention to is SGA week. So that's coming up next week. There was a sign out up sent earlier in the week. So if you guys could go ahead and take a look at that and sign up, that would be awesome. And also our quote of the week this week is, "One person can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone." And that's from Ronald Reagan. So with that, we'll move into commendations. Is there a motion for Resolution 46? Senator Valdez.
I move resolution 46. Second.
It is moved and seconded to consider Resolution 46. Will the author please come forward? Yep, there's a copy of the agenda up there.
Hi. Resolution 17-1846, commendation to Blake Morris by Jonathan Rodriguez, Rajat Kadira, Jordan wait, I'm guessing. Oh, okay. Sorry.
There you go.
All right, can you guys hear me now? All right. Resolution 17-1846, commendation to Blake Morris by Jonathan Rodriguez, Rajat Kadira, Trenton Martin, Mariana Cruz, Andrew McKittrick, Jordan Keel, Ryan Kelly, Grant Nichols, Karsten Chumlin, Jonathan Puchin, Adriana Elliott, Ali Karmali, Andrew Puchin, Rebecca Dahl, Brianna Mertens, Colin Fuller, Jack Ayres, Lexi Huskinson, Max Myers, Megan Hyens, Mikey Savarino, Nicholas Keckley, Olivia Ballman, and Ramin Rostenpour. Whereas Blake Morris, who just earned his bachelor's in civil engineering from Kansas State University, is a recipient of a 2018 Dwight D. Eisenhower Transportation Fellowship. Whereas the U.S. Department of Transportation awards the fellowship annually to 150 to 200 exceptional students around the country, whereas the 12-month, $31,900 award Morris received includes $10,000 for tuition, a $1,700 per month stipend, a $1,500 for travel to the upcoming annual meeting, January 7th through 11th, 2018, of the Transportation Research Board in Washington, D.C., whereas the supervision of Eric Fitzsimmons, Assistant Professor of Civil Engineering, Morris will research overweight and oversized freight flow and safety of the state's roadways using the Kansas Truck Routing and Intelligent Permitting Systems, or K-TRIPS. Whereas the Center for Transportation Workforce Development, a part of the Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration, manages the activities and integrates transportation to college and university programs with the aim to increase the number of post-secondary students interest in pursuing transportation-related careers, as well as helping to retain top talent in the U.S. transportation industry. And whereas this is supposed to say Morris, by the way, Morris' achievements brings a significant impact to the Kansas State University student body as he promotes entrance into higher education and empowers engineers to set their academic goals high. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends and congratulates Blake Morris for being a recipient of the 2018 Dwight D. Eisenhower Transportation Fellowship. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of the resolution shall be sent to Blake Morris, Assistant Professor of Civil Engineer Eric Fitzsimmons, Civil Engineering Department Head Robert Stokes, College of Engineering Dean Darren Dawson, and University President Richard B. Myers.
With that, are there any corrections to Resolution 46? Senator Rostenpour?
The department head of civil engineering is Mustaq Hussain, not Robert Stokes. He stepped down last year.
Okay, thank you.
Further corrections to Resolution 46? If not, first right to debate.
I just thought it was I just wanted to congratulate somebody in the student of engineering, and just, that's what we do here in student governing. So I just wanted to give Blake Morris, I congratulate him for his achievement.
Sweet. With that, are there any questions for Intern Karmali on his debate? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? What? Sorry. Is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? Sorry for forgetting your name. Yes.
I move we approve this resolution unanimously.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve Resolution 46 unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. All right. With that, there's no approval of appointments this week, so we'll move into committee reports. There's one committee report included in the agenda this week from the Privilege Fee Committee. They debated and discussed the counseling services privilege fee. So with that, is there any questions on the committee report included in the agenda? If not, are there any further committee chairs that would like to make a report? If not, we'll move into directors' reports. Are there any? There's a couple of directors' reports included with the agenda. Just to highlight a couple of things from Health Director Caroline Fuss. She says on this summer, June 1st, K-State campus will be implementing a smoke-free policy. If you're interested in being a part of the committee working on advertising that, feel free to send her an email. Also, Special Projects Director Kelly Holder gives us an update on the SGA t-shirts. The place is back ordered, and she will be sending an email as soon as she gets more information on that when they're coming in. With that, are there any questions on any of the director's reports in the agenda? If not, further director's reports? Director Kutra?
So I'm going to touch on three things. There's more information in my director's report in the agenda, but I'm going to touch on a few things. The first thing is one of the initiatives I've been working on this year is to establish a relationship in between student government, the Student Foundation, and the K-State Foundation. K-State Foundation being the main fundraising arm of the university, and Student Foundation doing a lot of work with K-State Proud, which is one of the most significant student-run needs-based scholarships initiatives on campus. So so I mentioned this. I'll go into more detail when I have more specifics to report, but this is my last year. And so each of the things that I talk about, hopefully that there will be people next year who can take on those initiatives. So if you hear anything that I talk about that you're interested in, I'm more than happy to start reading you into those positions and also having you in those meetings this year so that you can continue those on next year. But the whole idea behind this is there are different sort of issues that can be fundraised for. There are bricks and mortar initiatives, and there are also some diversity and inclusion initiatives. So if you can raise your hand, how many of you have taken a class in Waters Hall? So quite a few of us. At Waters Hall definitely needs some help. So I can show you the ag people really like that one. So I can show you a picture of Waters Hall. I can take you into one of the rooms and you can feel the change of temperature from 85 degrees down to 65, whatever it happens to be. But I can't necessarily show you a picture of racism, what it looks like on this campus, or what it's like to go hungry. So one of the parts of this K-State Foundation initiative is trying to find ways that we can use student stories more effectively in the process as we talk about things such as Multicultural Student Center, needs-based scholarships, and food pantry, which are big issues that student stories are really important on. One of the things I mentioned in the agenda was an email I just sent out to about 150 student government representatives regarding DACA. We are less than a month away from the beginning of the expiration of DACA. And so if you have questions, if everyone were to call all the numbers on that list, there are only six representatives and senators representing Kansas. We would have 150 people calling all those numbers. So that would be a fantastic step forward. And also share it with other communities. I've already had Halo reach out to me, and I'll also be talking with them about doing some outreach with that. And if you're from a different state, I will help you find your representatives' numbers. The last thing I'm going to talk about is SGA elections. So there's a committee called the SGA Elections Committee that has been underutilized this year, but the purpose of SGA elections is for older people like myself who are not supporting a campaign and will not campaign for anyone to find ways to make sure that more people know about student government elections and that more people participate either in running or in voting. So I think this is a tremendous way to leave an impact, to have a legacy, because one of the things that could be the most impactful is if you go into a community that you're not typically a part of and you find someone who's particularly passionate or particularly well-spoken, who's interested in student government, even if you might fundamentally disagree with them on everything that they say, they might be the best person to sit in this room and you might want to help them out and to let them know what the process is like. So if you don't know the process, come see me, and I'll help give you some ideas on campaigning, all that sort of thing as well. but also, if you have people who are interested in running, I believe the deadline is coming up next Friday. So please encourage people to run or contact me or the elections commissioner or anyone else. We want to be here to help people. So that's all I have. Stand for questions.
With that, are there any questions for Director Kuchera? Seeing none, further director's reports? If not,
Hey, that's me.
Yep, awesome. And President Ayers.
Well, it's good to be back. Thanks for not impeaching me the last 2 weeks when I wasn't here. I really appreciate that. Was actually in the wonderful city of Lawrence last Thursday, meeting with our attorney for our amicus brief, which I think I talked about a couple weeks ago. So just want to give a little update on that and a couple other things going on. So State Higher Ed Day was yesterday, a really good turnout from a lot of individuals, with the 3 points of advocacy being funding, which is we wanted to restore the levels that we had in the academic year 2015-2016, which is about $24 million overall. That'd be about $5 million to K-State into this next year. That's an increase, by the way, not overall funding from the state. And then we also talked about local control for concealed carry, and then advocated for, in the next session, because there's not really time in this session, for a comprehensive statewide bill to ensure affirmative consent, which is a statewide yes means yes law, that for sexual, that for consent regarding sexual encounters, yes means yes. It's not the absence of no. So one of the things that we discussed, obviously, the student body presidents have been working on this Supreme Court brief to interact with the state Supreme Court's decision on K-12 funding. So K-12 schools are suing the legislature for inadequate funding, and the legislature is asked to provide an additional $600 million, which would, unfortunately, I think, given our revenue projections and not much room for an appetite, I think, even across the board on the political left and right, for a tax increase this year following a $1.2 trillion increase last year. That would have to come out of all the state agencies, which the numbers being discussed are at 18% reduction. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I know that's alarmist, and James and I had a real struggle with that, talking to some of the participants of State Higher Ed Day, where I said that number and everybody freaked. But anyway, so one of the things that I think interacts with this is what the student body presidents are doing around the state to file a brief which indicates that higher ed needs to be considered and an impact of that needs to be considered. And that's something that I think is going to be we're going to file it here on the 15th of March, or we're filing the application March 1st. You'll hear our media strategy kind of goes out March 7th. But as we spoke to leadership in the House and Senate, as well as the governor yesterday, there's a lot of good support for this because people really feel like it's been absent in the conversation, honestly, over the last 50 years. Governor Collier gave his first public address, I guess, to the joint session of the legislature yesterday, and one of his main points is that over the last consecutive 50 years, that's 10 governors, which he pointed out, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, have kind of faced this pretty nasty school funding litigation. So he said he's committed to ending it. I don't quite know what that means. I'm going to reach out to him and figure out how exactly you end that. But in the meantime, we'll go back to that. I'll keep you updated. A couple of things going on. Tuition and fees is chugging along. We now know for sure that we have 2 fees that are coming down the wire. Waiting to hear back from Provost Mason on the 3rd. The fees, I think I mentioned this, or you've heard about this right now, are engineering and architecture, plan, and design. So we'll be talking about that. I know I mentioned our process last time. I probably sped through it really quickly, but the gist of it, just to remind everybody, is that we're trying to create some subcommittees within TFSC where we would have a college tuition committee that the decision is really made more locally within the college, and then TFSC has provided some guidance there. And the students still manage all of those votes, and I think it gives a little more accountability, shall I say, to votes that deans have otherwise been presenting to that committee. So we're really excited about that. That process was approved unanimously last week. Last week. And that'll be something that we are starting on now. Jonathan and I have a bit of administrative overhead to take care of, but we're working on that. other thing we talked about is the idea of a fee review, which is something that we'll be discussing in further detail next Tuesday. And we want to do similar to how the Privilege Fee Committee does, where we have a set schedule. So it'd be every 3 years, each college would get fully reviewed. And now there was some conversation, there's some conversation about how exactly that would be done. Perhaps with an internal audit. Our university has a really robust internal audit system as a state agency. Concerns about whether there's capacity for that, and also concerns about whether or not that can be as in-depth as it needs to be. That's something that Jonathan and I are going to have to discuss, or Speaker Puchin and I are going to have to discuss in further detail, trying to figure those details out. But we'll keep that process, that topic going, and that'll be something that we talk about next Tuesday as well. Okay, 3 more things. 1, provost search. We are inviting.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Caucus Leader Rostapor.
I move we extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes. If there are no objections, you have 10 more minutes.
If I do, I owe you one. Thanks, City. Thank you, though. So, provost search, we have kind of concluded our initial round, which is we're now moving into airport interviews. Don't know if I can say numbers or anybody that we're bringing, but we have some good candidates there, so we're really excited for that. There will be on-campus interviews for our final candidates late March, early April, so I'll keep everybody updated on that. Finally, there was it was interesting to hear Director Kuchera's report talking about the state of classrooms and how that's a lot easier to sell to donors or friends of the university. I think it's a great point that Stephen makes. However, also we do have some money this year, about $1 million, that we can spend on classroom renovations. And so that's what the survey went out a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to think, it was right before the KU game. Yeah, and so be sure to check that out. Be sure to please personally fill out the survey, and be sure to share that if you have individuals asking. I think that's a really good way to address a lot of concerns. I've gotten some good responses back either personally to my email, but also we've had, I think, around 2,200 people fill out the survey, which is pretty incredible. That's 10%. I'd like to get that a little higher, though. However, it's interesting. I sat down with our university architect a couple of months ago, and he said, I can guarantee you here are the buildings and here are the classrooms that are going to come up in the survey. And it sounds like those are the classrooms that have come up. Like, we know where the issues are, but it's still good to get kind of that reassurance that what are students thinking about Eisenhower Hall. Big surprise there. Okay, finally, Big 12 on the Hill is in 2 weeks. We just had a really good conference call with the Big 12 student body presidents before this, and hammering out some of our priorities, which is one of which is DACA. We're working on letters right now that we can. That's something that Trent is leading and has done an incredible job. Seriously, this letter was incredible. I sent it to the other student body presidents in Kansas, and then I'll send it to Big 12, and they're just amazed. So big shout out to Trent for that. Higher Education Act reauthorization. That's something that is talking about right now. There's a lot of concerns with the bill that's come out of the House committee, and it sounds like the Senate committee wants to be a lot more bipartisan with their bill. It's concerns pretty similar to some of the concerns raised in the tax reform bill about directly affecting grad students, with the Grad Plus loans program being eliminated. There's a couple other loans that for the neediest of students are eliminated in that. And there's also a couple things that are added. There's a Pell Grant funding for students that take about 15 hours that's been added, but it's kind of hard to see where all that's going to go. So that'll be something that actually Trent and I and the president of West Virginia University are going to be working on. Finally, our last two platform priorities with higher ed, Big 12 on the Hill is mental health, including some funding there for research and support at the university level, and then some clarity on. It's not all about Title IX, but it all relates to sexual assault, both prevention efforts and the legal side of that. And those things are, I'll be honest, higher ed reauthorization, or the Higher Ed Act reauthorization is, we have that hammered out the most because there's a lot more kind of literature on that. It's kind of the topic right now. Mental health and sexual assault, though, obviously are going to be a big part of what we do in the next 2 weeks, trying to figure out exactly what is our ask. And so I look forward to that. All right, that ends my long report. Thanks so much.
With that, are there any questions for President Ayers?
Hey.
Yep, Caucus Leader Kidd.
Hello. So you mentioned for the provost search process that there would be airport interviews followed by like on-campus ones. What's the difference? I just looked it up, but can you like
absolutely
with what airport interviews are?
Absolutely. So an airport interview is capped at like an hour, and I think that's exactly what ours will be. And so kind of trying to figure out logistics because Manhattan only has so many flights per day, so work on that. But people fly right in for their interview. It's about an hour long, and then they fly right out. And it's just with the search committee. It's a huge search committee. I mean, relatively speaking, but then the on-campus interviews, they will actually be here. The candidates will be here for 3 days, and so the candidate will have a meeting with a bunch of different constituent groups. Like there's a student group. I think it's been set for like Tuesday morning. That's not set in stone. I'll obviously be sharing that information, but they'll meet with faculty senate, and they'll meet with some alliance groups. They'll meet with the president and certain staff members, and so it's really going to be that is like a 3-day intensive interview. And so following those 3, or I'm not exactly sure how many on-campus interviews we'll have, probably 2 or 3, or maybe even 4. Then we'll be able to make our final decision based off of that. So airport, quick, and on-campus really in depth. So thank you. That's a good question.
Further questions, Director Kutra?
To my knowledge, the search committee for the provost does not have a graduate student serving on it. So in the initial process of that, will there be an opportunity for graduate student voice considering the candidates?
That's a good, definitely on the on-campus. I mean, meet with GSC. They'll probably meet with some classes as well. And I assume that like when the Dean's Council and stuff, like with Dean Shanklin as well, that is a concern I hadn't heard before. I appreciate you bringing that up. I know that there's obviously good faculty representation, but you're right, there's not a grad student serving on that committee. Might be good. I'll talk to Vice President Dorhout, who's the chair of the committee as well. And if you want to help me with that, that'd be great. Because maybe there's a way that we can make sure that happens. Thank you.
Further questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'll give a director's report this week. So, it's been the first time in a long time. Sweet. Alrighty, so I get to talk to you all about SGA week. So let's get a little cheer for that. Woohoo! Here we go. All right. So we've got a big week planned for next week with a couple of different activities going on. First, I want to draw your attention to this schedule here. So we got 5 days packed with activities and with things to promote SGA, to promote involvement in our elections, and then also to I guess have a little bit of fun and raise some, hopefully raise some money for Cats Covered. So Monday is just going to be a general information day about SGA. Hopefully, if you guys would invite your friends, that'd be awesome. We're going to have that all taking place in the Union Courtyard. It's going to be, first it's going to be SGA 101. It's going to be presentations from the branch leaders about the 3 different branches, followed by a presidential candidates debate. So the primary is coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to give all 4 candidates a chance to debate each other for about an hour up on the stage there and talk about their platforms and why you should vote for them. And the last thing we're going to talk about is how to file for elections. So the filing deadline is going to be on Friday. So we think that's a good opportunity to let any student who maybe may happen to be wandering through the union to just let them know how to file, how to run a good campaign, how to get involved with the student senate side of things. So with that, Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be focused on the primary elections. So we're going to be manning a couple of booths across campus. Our elections commissioner, Corbin Stolachik, he has 3 places reserved for us. So I told him that if he can figure out how to man one of them, we'll man the other 2. So there's a sign up that went out on that. And then the last day, or Thursday, is going to be the Pi SGA member day. So we're going to be out on Bosco Plaza with some pie pans full of whipped cream. So I think Jack signed up for a shift, and Haley signed up for a shift, and I signed up for a shift, and lots of people are going to get pied. We did this 2 years ago, and it was really cool. A lot of people just as they were passing through Bosco Plaza would stop and hang out. So even if you're passing through, tell your friends, have them come by. I think we're planning on doing like a $1 for a pie. But also, since it's on Thursday, we have a student senate meeting that night. So in addition to doing our K-State Proud Student Senate meeting, Bill Harlan has said if we raise $200, we can pie him during Senate. So a little bit of motivation right there.
Take $20.
$20, yeah. Yeah. So if we can get that done, that would be awesome. I think it'd be a ton of fun to get it applied Bill Harlan. So with that, Friday, not a whole lot going on, just promoting the filing deadline. So I think that filing deadline is at 5 p.m., Bill? The filing deadline on the 16th? 4 p.m. So with that, feel free to post on social media. Also, there's going to be a lot of stuff on social media. Attorney General Hanneman has done an awesome job with creating graphics for that. So also those went out in the email. I just sent a follow-up a second ago. But with that, I want to pull this up real quick. We still have a lot of empty spaces, and I'd love to see at least all the white spots get filled. If we can fill a couple of the gray spots, that would be great. But with that, I'm going to kind of pause Student Senate for a couple minutes until we get all of those spots filled. So, yes, Chair Neatery.
Are there going to be donuts?
There will be donuts. Yep, great question. So there's going to be donuts at the SGA booth on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So feel free to. Sorry, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. My apologies. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there's going to be varsity donuts. So, Chair Bickerd.
A question for you. So you mentioned $200 for Bill Harlan. Does that include canned goods, since we're also going to be accepting those?
You bet.
In lieu of $1?
Yep. So each canned good is going to be worth $1. So if you bring a canned good for Cat's Cupboard, that'll also count towards our $200 goal. So with that, we'll hang out till that gets filled up. Still a lot of openings on Wednesday. friendly reminder that there's still a ton of opportunities to be involved on Wednesday. All right, if we can get those last couple spots filled on Wednesday, then we'll be able to wrap up our meeting tonight. So otherwise, we might hang out for a while. All right, if we can get one more person to sign up for a teardown on Wednesday, we'll go ahead and resume the meeting. So if someone can make it after 2 o'clock. Awesome, thank you, Victor. With that, are there any questions about SGA Week?
Please let us.
All right, is there any further questions on SGA Week? If not, I'm excited that you all are participating in it, and I'm looking forward to it next week. So be sure to plug it on social media. With that, are there any further director's reports? If not, we'll move into approval of minor allocations. And we have 2 minor allocations this week. The first is Bill 49, which is a travel allocation to Need to Read. They requested $100 to go to the Impact Conference March 1st through the 4th in Dayton, Ohio. And they were recommended $100. And then Bill 50, which is a travel allocation to the College Republicans, who are hoping to go to the CPAC Conference February 21st through the 25th, 2018 in Washington, D.C. And they requested $4,498 and were recommended $800. With that, are there any questions or corrections on the minor allocations? If not, is there a motion to approve the minor allocations? Senator Papoon? It is moved and seconded to approve the minor allocations. If there are no objections, the minor allocations will be approved as presented. With that, we will move into introduction of minor allocations. Is there a motion to consider Bill 51? Chair Neadery.
I move Bill 51.
It is moved and seconded to consider Bill 51. Will the author please come forward? The author of Bill 51. Sweet.
Bill 171851, on-campus, or fiscal year 2018 on-campus allocation to the Kansas State University Bassoon Club by On-Campus Allocations Committee. Whereas the On-Campus Allocations Committee received and reviewed the on-campus request of Kansas State University Bassoon Club, the Kansas State University Bassoon Club will be hosting Dr. Keith Collins for a guest lecture and performance on March 7th through 9th and expects 40 students to attend. Whereas the students in attendance will have the opportunity to see a historically informed performance from a recorder and baroque bassoon specialist. Whereas this is a unique opportunity because there are very few recorder specialists in the United States and even fewer baroque bassoon specialists. Whereas Kansas State University Bassoon Club is registered with the Center for Student Involvement as a departmental student organization, and whereas the funds requested by this group and the funding recommendations made are as follows. Project 1, Dr. Keith Collins, March 7th through 9th, 2018, McCain Auditorium. Speaker, request $800, recommendation $800. Be it enacted that, Section 1, Kansas State University Bassoon Club shall be allocated $800 for the event described. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, these funds shall be transferred from the account NISA FARSV to the account NISA 0155FA of the Kansas State University Bassoon Club.
All right, with that, are there any corrections to resolution or to Bill 51? Chair Nudary?
I have a quick question. Is that coming out of the fine arts one?
Yes.
Okay.
Further questions or corrections on Bill 51? If not, is there a... That is the end of minor allocations, introduction of minor allocations. And we will move into introduction of legislation. Is there a motion for Bill 52? Yes.
I move that we consider Bill 52.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to consider Bill 52. Will the author please come forward? Yep. Chair Beckeridge.
I move the author be allowed to summarize.
It is moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize. If there are no objections, you're allowed to summarize.
Thank you. Okay, Bill 171852, amendments to the Kansas State University Student Governing Association bylaws concerning the Legislative Advocates Program by Jack Ayers, Glenn Bickerud, Carlos Flores, Ryan Kelly, James Krutz, Lacey Pitts, Jonathan Puchin, Ramin Rostenpour, and Faith Tuttle. Okay, so basically what this bill is seeking to do, the Legislative Advocates Program has been in effect operating for 2 years now, and we just needed to update the bylaws to establish it in the bylaws. So with this bill, it's adding a little bit of language to Article 3, the duties of the State Relations Director. So you can read those there. I won't read those out loud, but we are creating another article or another section to Article 3. So Section 2, Article 3, Section 7 is hereby created to read as follows. The charge of the Legislative Advocates Program shall be to represent the interests of the student body of Kansas State University before the Kansas Legislature by building relationships with legislators through electronic communications and in-person appointments, contacting them regarding relevant higher education legislation, excuse me, and consult with the Kansas State University Office of Government Relations on the legal and political ramifications of advocating for or against pertinent legislation. The legislative advocates shall endeavor to make regular contact with their hometown or registered legislators. Any legislative advocate who is not represented by a Kansas legislator will be matched with a Kansas legislator at the discretion of the chair. The legislative advocates shall endeavor to become knowledgeable on legislative and higher education affairs. They shall conduct research and draft policy positions so as to inform the student body at large of the advocacy efforts. The legislative advocates will consult the student body at large about their concerns and take this information into account when creating their advocacy platforms. The platforms will be voted on by the committee and submitted to the student body president for approval. The legislative advocate shall be composed of full voting members of both the Student Governing Association and the student body at large, the recruitment and selection of which will fall to the chair. The chair shall create an application process and evaluate the applications in the fall semester to be disseminated to departments including but not limited to political science, comm studies, journalism, and economics to ensure fair and equitable selection of members from the KSU SGA and student body at large. And then the rest of these just kind of detail the role of all the members. So the chair will have that list of duties. They will hold elections for a vice chair, a secretary, and a communications director as follows. And K, a quorum of the committee shall be half of the sitting members plus one. The chair shall only vote in the case of a tie. Are there any questions?
Question for Director Krutz? Yeah, Advisor Harlan?
Would you insert in line 23, Article 3, Section 3, G, so it's not replacing the whole Section 3, it's just limiting.
Okay, yes.
And then 41 and Section 7, I believe, instead of Section 3.
Okay.
So copy, paste.
Okay. Parliamentarian Pittman, are you tracking this? Thank you so much. And then I would also have an amendment. On line 69, I would like fair, equitable, and nonpartisan. That is very important in the work that we do. Any other questions or amendments?
If not, that bill will be referred to the Governmental Relations Committee. Is there a motion for Bill 53? Yes.
I move to consider Bill 53. Second.
It is moved and seconded to consider Bill 53. Will the author please come forward?
Bill 17-1853 for the fiscal year of 2018 on-campus allocation to the National Organization of Minority Architect Students by the On-Campus Allocations Committee. Whereas the On-Campus Allocations Committee received and reviewed the on-campus request of NOMAS. Whereas NOMAS has asked Mark Graham, principal at WLC Architects in Los Angeles, California, to speak to the organization and other students on campus about how design is used to benefit or create change for disenfranchised communities. This event will take place during Diversity Week on April 9th through 11th, and expect the students' attendance to be around 150 to 250 students. Whereas the educational benefit of this project is to increase student awareness of minorities in the design profession and how designers are increasingly tackling the challenges facing urban areas. Through discussion and lectures addressing these challenges, students will learn various methods that they have been used to strengthen communities and facilitate resiliency in the design environment. Whereas NOMAS is registered with the Center of Student Involvement as a departmental student organization, whereas the funds received from SGA will be going towards the speaker's travel and compensation fees, and whereas the funds requested by this group and the funding recommendation made are as follows. Project 1, Diversity Week, Breaking Boundaries, Building Communities, April 9th through 11th, Rainier Hall. The request was for $1,000 for the speaker compensation, and the recommendation was $1,000, for a total of $1,000 being recommended. Being enacted that Section 1, NOMAS shall be allocated $1,000 for the event as described. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, these funds shall be transferred from NISACONRSV to the account NISA0760CC of National Organization of Minority Architect Students.
With that, are there any corrections to Bill 53? Caucus Leader Rostenpour?
So I looked it up on OrgSync, and it's architecture students.
Okay.
It seemed weird to say architect students.
Okay.
Further questions for the author? If not, that bill will be referred to the On-Campus Allocations Committee. With that, we have exhausted our agenda for the night. I want to make a kind of quick announcement or plea, more or less. If you have legislation that you're working on and you want to get done before the end of the term, If you could submit that as soon as possible, that'd be great. We've had a couple of short meetings here now, which I think is awesome. But if we may end up supplementing that with a couple of long meetings at the end of the term. So we can kind of push some of those issues earlier in the term. I think that'd really help with kind of balancing out our meetings and making sure that we're not going super, super late as we get towards late March and April. So with that, we'll go into our second open period. Are there any second open period speakers? Yep, Director Moore.
All right, so I know there's a lot of awesome people in this room, and so I wanted to put a plug in for the Rhodes, Marshall, and Mitchell scholarships. Campus applications are now open. So if you are a junior or older and are interested in entering grad school in the UK or Ireland in the fall of 2019, come talk to me. It's a not too time-intensive scholarship application, and you'll go through a campus process, and then if you're selected by the campus committee. Sorry, I lost my words there. You can apply at the national level. Also, if there are any sophomores in the room that are going to be graduating in 4 years, the Truman application is open. That's for people interested in public service careers. Or if you're going to be here 5 years and you apply in your 3rd year. But if you're interested in either of those, please come talk to me. I'll get you connected with the right people.
Any questions for Director Moore? Seeing none, Senator Kallenberger.
Hey everyone, so you've probably seen tables around your colleges, but this is the first of 2 big campaign weeks for K-State Proud, and I know we talked about it last week, and next week's Senate is the K-State Proud Senate, but if you have a chance to stop by the table, we'll be right by the SGA week tables in the Union all week, so if you can come by and donate, that's great. If you can't donate, please at least spread the word to students in your college, just because if they're interested in donating, that really helps, but also you never know when someone is really in financial trouble, and we have information at those booths on eligibility requirements for Student Opportunity Awards, so if you can spread the word, that'd be awesome. Thanks.
Any questions for Senator Kallenberger? Seeing none, further second open period announcements. Director Kuchera.
With regards to Bill 51, and as someone who's learning a fugue by Johann Sebastian Bach this Sunday, it's pronounced Baroque. This Wednesday I will be playing from 12 until 1. I'll be playing the piano here in the Union for Valentine's Day. There's a lunchtime lounge, so as you're walking through, or if you're going to be coming through for SGA elections, feel free to stop by and hear some Valentine's Day music.
Awesome. Any questions for Director Kuchera? Seeing none, any further second open period reports? If not, we'll move into reference of legislation. Bills 51 and 53 will be referred to the On-Campus Allocations Committee, and then Bill 52 will be referred to the Governmental Relations Committee. And with that, we'll move into second roll call.
Okay. Cool. All right, Adams, Akers, Alberts, Anders, Bergston, Bowler, Bickerrood, Cafera, Dinez, DeMoranville, Dahl, Elliott, Flores, Fuller, Garcia, Garrity, Grandy, Hendrickson, Hyen, Hughes, Jackson, Jewell, Kallenberger, Kelly, Kidd, Klein, Maples, Markle, McDermott, Mertens, Meyer, Nichols, Nedry, Nordstrom, Orth, Penny, Papoon, Pitts, Pruitt, Rostenpour, Swanson, Tedrow, Thomas, Tuttle, Valdez, Works, Zwick, Harp, Haynes, Bothwell, Carpenter, Cruz, okay, Dahl, now it froze. Okay, sorry. Grover, Hornung, Horton, Hodgkinson, Houghton, Jabin, Keekly, Okay, Keekly, sir, yeah. Karanja, Kellerman, King, McAdam, Malmberg, McCandless, Meinhardt, Peckert. Okay, thanks. Putnam.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Salvarino. Shao. Chumlin.
Here.
Wheeler. Whitmer.
Shell.
Witzke. Zyke. Okay, thanks, y'all.
All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Papoon?
Move we adjourn to next week, same time, same place.
It is moved and seconded. If there are no objections, we'll be adjourned.